Hey, yo, Sway, you already. I'ma dedicate this one to the hardest individual on the street right now. Luke Cage, you already know. Bulletproof love your way, brother. Let's get it. Listen. Man, it is what it is. Can't understand a man if you ain't live what he lived. Roaches in the crib, ain't got no food up in the fridge. Plus the crime running rampant and it's screwing up the kids. Sway admit, what kind of paradise is this? I just want my 40 niggas and some cash on the wrist. But the stakes is trying to gather in the bed where you get the cotton out, plucking ashes off the clear. Off the rip, now a challenger exists. Any bulletproof sheep, what kind of caliber is this? Got thugs in the store with the barrel on your lips, saying empty out the door before he pound you with the grip. Lord, who to call when no one obeys the law, and there ain't no Iron Man that can come and save us all. Power to the people and Luke Cage the cause, and the cops got it wrong. We don't think Cage involved. Look, dog, a hero never had one. Already took Malcolm and Martin, this is the last one. I beg your pardon, somebody pulling the fast one. Now we got a hero for hire and he a black one. And bullet hole hoodies is the fashion. We in Harlem's paradise, tell the cat done that I'm about to trade the mic for a magnum. Give up my life to trade Vaughn to have one. Cheer, cause this is bulletproof love. And you already know what a bulletproof does. So you can take it from a bulletproof dog. The hood got his back, dog, bulletproof love. Blood thicker than mud. And who am I to judge if you get a gun in the club? Cause you already know what a bulletproof does. When the hood got your back, dog, bulletproof love. Shout out to Pop, R.I.P. my brother. The streets is crazy right now, you know what I'm saying? People say we don't need another hero, but now we got one. Whether you like it or not, Luke Cage, please believe it, sir. The streets got your back. You already bulletproof love, baby.
Yeah,
that was dope.
I just want people to understand that. What they did, trance, might be too conscious to listen to music these days. These words are putting a spell on you. Yeah, I feel you. I understand that. But Jay-Z was talking to a woman during this song, and he was using such classy, old school punchlines and hooks or whatever you want to call them. Either way, a lot of people don't understand what Eat the Cake anime means. That's from the Tina Turner movie. What's Love Got to Do with It? People don't understand the Mike Tyson reference in '97 when he was like 15 years old, knocking everything out. But above all, a lot of people don't understand that initial quote from Jay-Z. And he said that, do say so myself, if I do say so myself, if I do say so myself. Clearly, a lot of you don't understand, but that's the reason I'm doing this interview today, because what he was saying was, this song is a shit, and I'm giving it my approval. And yes, that's my approval being my approval. And whose approval is that? Jay-Z. So that's what I'm trying to say. Some of you just really need to approve yourself and stop looking for other people's opinions or characterizations or however they look at you. Tell them go find a bridge or a short pair and take a long walk off it, because you need to do you. And it's only you that's going to set a standard for yourself. And so with that being said, I applaud. I wish I had the applause to bring in this young lady. She's doing her thing by herself. And I want to speak to her about it right now. So everybody, clap your hands, sit back, relax, enjoy this episode. I got Miss Sapphire on the line with me today. Hello, my sister. How are you feeling on this wonderful morning?
I'm feeling good, but I gotta tell you, it's sexy Sapphire. It's a lot of Sapphires, but I'm the sexy one. Remember that.
I cannot be mad at you saying that and making sure that you make it be known. Now, I applaud your tenacity, and I see that you put in a lot of work. When I scroll through your Instagram, I see you dropping a lot of articles, doing a lot of videos, doing a lot of entrepreneurial things. So what is it that led you to be into the entrepreneurial spirit, to build your own brand and market yourself?
You know, the funny thing is, I've always been a loner. I've never had friends. I'm the antisocial one. If anything was going to get done, it was just going to be me. That's about as simple as it was. Like, I didn't have anybody to say, hey, let's collaborate. I got these ideas. Nah. Just, you want to get it done, because it's you or nothing, you know?
that, yo, I can definitely understand that, and I respect the grind and the hustle. So what inspires you to write the type of writings that you write? Because I myself have actually dived into writing erotic tales or stories that would take people out of this world for a second and bring them into their fantasy or imagination. So what inspired you to get into that field of writing?
Well, you know, that's a funny thing because I really never wrote erotica until about last year. What it is that I've been a writer for pretty much my whole life. And so I write spoken word and poetry, and I had always, that's where my roots are, and I used to go out and perform and stuff like that. And I wrote a couple erotic poems, but I never wrote stories. And Sexy Sapphire, you know, so many opportunities come across you. And what I really wanted to do was incorporate what I loved, which was my writing, into what I was doing. And so I started looking for opportunities to showcase my writing. And what I find is being Sapphire, people expect sexy from me. So
let's talk about the facts. 64% of black children don't live with their fathers. There's 1 out of every 2 don't live with their fathers. Now they might.
My fault. That was an accident of pushing the button. That was Dr. Umar Johnson. But
well, that sounds like a fan that want to talk about the sex. Like, she telling Sexy Sapphire is all about sex and more.
Yeah, exactly. So exploring on that topic, like the whole sex industry, is that a hard thing to get into? Is it a hard way to break into it, or is being independent in that industry the best way to go forward?
It used to be a hard thing to get into. Now it's not. It's really easy to get into because the internet changed the world, you know. It used to be you had to fly out to California, you had to know somebody, you had to meet an agent, you had to, you know, put some real work in. And now they have sites where you can just, hey, I got a camera, I know some chicks that's down, let's start our own stuff. And once you get like some online momentum, you start getting bigger companies looking at you, and you get people looking at you, you become an overnight success. It's like, I have no business being labeled as a porn star. I've never slept with a porn star on camera. I've never slept with anyone for money on camera. I had sex on camera. I had sex on camera with my boyfriend.
So definitely definitely a way for our people to think about or control their industry. See, there's like somebody had a problem with, I think it was called ghetto gaggers, and how they disrespect women or our women during that process. But I see that with how you do it, you actually have control of your own situation. So it's not like you're demeaning yourself for money. You're actually doing something you enjoy.
Yeah, you'll never see it. And that's what I try to stress to the girls that want to get into the business. I try to tell them, you know, there's a way to do this and become successful without having to compromise yourself. Like, you can be yourself. If you work hard at anything, you can achieve it. So if you say, all I want to do is show my feet on camera, you can make $1 million showing your feet on camera if you want it. You know, you do not have to be that I'm out there like that. I'm doing gangbangs and I had to take some facials to get in the business. That's not the way the business works no more. It's just not. Like, it's more about what you're willing to do and put in, and knowing your limitations and sticking to it, and being willing to take a couple losses, being willing to deal with rejection and know that everybody not going to want to work with you because you have these limitations. And, oh, wow, but they're your standards. And so you set them and you stick to them and you keep moving and know that success is at the end of the tunnel.
Most definitely. All right, I seen your Instagram. It seems like you was at church yesterday. So I have a question. I don't know if you watch Fox News or if you come across the video from Miss Megyn Kelly. I mean, sometimes people say it's really not a relevant topic. Me personally, I have my own opinions about this topic I'm getting ready to ask you. But Megyn Kelly seriously said that Jesus was a white man. And this is religious. People don't like to go into religion, but it's important that we understand what's going on in this world today. So she blatantly said that Jesus is a white man. Now, I know I've seen the pamphlet from your church, and clearly your church had an understanding that the people from that area were not white. And so what's your take or your feeling on what she said?
I think that anyone with any level of intelligence who can read, like just simply read, can read the Bible itself. It's not, some things are not open for interpretation. When you look at where he was from, what they said his hair looked like, what his feet look like, what his skin look like, and what all the other people from that area look like, that should say if you have enough common sense, then you should know what he looked like. So it's not even a question of whether he was black or white, because I don't even know if black and white was an issue back then. I don't know if black and white existed back then. I don't know if race was an issue back then. What I do know is what color they say he was, what they say his hair looked like, and what the people from that area look like.
Most definitely. Yeah, look, that's what I wanted to know regarding that topic. Beyonce, since I played her song before you came on, and I was talking about how she really just did something to the game, thinking outside of the box when it comes to industry. What's your advice for those who want to not just go into what your field is, but a lot of people who are listening here, they either want to go into group economics, conscious upbringing for the community. Some people want to write books. Some people want to build villages. Some people want to establish. They just want to be independent business makers. From your experience, what is the good advice that you can give to them so that they might not have to go through some of the mistakes or some of the heartbreak that you went through?
Google is your best friend. Make Google your best friend. Like, you can learn anything through Google. Like, it has links to anything and everything you need to learn. And you know, stop asking people how they got somewhere, because somebody else's route is not your route. You can't walk in somebody else's footsteps. So you can ask them, you know, maybe some advice, but stop asking them how to do it and stop copying other people. Stop following, because that's not going to work for you. You know, it's really about getting out there and trying things and finding out what works for you, because we're all individual, and so we all have an individual path. Even if we're trying to get to the same place, there's an individual path to get there. So just study. You know, if you got an interest in something, research it. Stop looking for the easy out. Learn enough about it that you end up working smart and not hard.
Yeah, definitely. I really appreciate that answer. For the youth, what advice do you have for the young black males and black females coming up, the next generation of our people, to step forward and become leaders, speakers, teachers, and aspiring whatever?
Stop looking up to the wrong people. They worship celebrities. Celebrities are the worst thing in the world for you to look up to, because they get paid to tell you what they like. They don't really like the stuff they like. They don't really like Coke. They don't like Pepsi. They don't really wear this name brand of clothes. They don't care. They get it for free. You know, stop spending all your money trying to be like them, because they get it for free. The real jewel is in books. It is. Education is the key. I'm telling you, like, if you want to do something, learn how to do it. Like, stop looking for the way like everybody else. That's the key to life. Just do it. Find a way to do it for you, because the way they're being educated now is through the TV and the internet. The schools don't teach them nothing. The parents are too busy struggling because the economy changed that they're not home to teach them nothing. It's really a sad situation, but the key to everything is in the book. It's not on the TV.
Most definitely. That's a whole self-education thing, and that's something I like to push on the show, because I think self-education is what got me this show. I learned a lot in the last, 2 to 3 years this is the reason I can sit down and, spit facts and information straight from my head, because it's still fresh. I still have the books. I've acquired old encyclopedias, and I go ahead and go to these flea markets or garage sales and buy the books. buy the encyclopedias, just buy all the information that you can find, because the true story is hidden in books. And they like to say that our people don't like to, if you want to hide something from a nigga, what they say is you put it in a book. Therefore,
that's what my grandma used to say.
Exactly. Therefore, you need to go into these books, so they need to stop hiding. Because when I went into a book, I found out that Santa Claus, also Jolly Old Saint Nick, was actually a black man. He actually like did time or was locked away in Egypt. He was handing out money to the poor, and this is why his legend grew. He was actually even at the Council of Nicene, something which I learned like last night. It's still a pagan holiday, pagan tradition, and we sometimes forget these things. And it's written clearly in the books. It's like literally in the Catholic encyclopedia and the Mormon encyclopedia and it's in all of these books. The information is right there. So I tell people, just don't be a follower. Observe what you observe, but understand that you're observing it for a reason, not from what someone is telling you. It's the reason. And so I like that. I appreciate the fact that you come on this show to tell people what it is, how it is, and how they could be. And it's actually I think the reason me and you even I started following you, or you started following, however it was, is we had a conversation about something that led to me finding out that you're actually you adopted a child, or you're a carer of a child who was adopted. So I want you to elaborate and explain that situation of the joys of being a mother and adopting children.
Well, he's not legally adopted. What it is that he's mentally a little slow, and he comes from a family that is taking advantage of him. He's very underprivileged, and they take his check every month. They don't do anything for him. He's actually 22. He just aged out of school last year, so he's just out there every day with nothing to eat and no clothes and no haircut and stuff like that. So I took him under me a couple of years ago, and, he needed somebody to care, so I care,
Just most definitely. We don't have a lot of people in our community with hearts like that. I buried my grandmother at the beginning of this year. She had a heart like that, to take in children of people or the community, feed them, clothe them, and make sure that they were all right, because, our people fall on hard times, so we're in a definite struggle. I've never been to Baltimore, particularly. That's where you're from, right? I've never been there, particularly, but I've ridden on the Amtrak, and I've seen the Wire, whatever. But I've ridden on the Amtrak.
That's the Wire.
Yeah, and that's a crazy show right there. But as I was riding on the Amtrak, the train will go through parts of Baltimore, and you'll see a whole block empty, of just empty houses, burnt down houses, things of that nature. And I can only imagine that was where our people used to live and thrive and be who they were. Now I think they chased out. I actually have a couple people who I consider friends that are in Baltimore. They actually do internet radio themselves. And so I want to come visit out there, but I also want to find a way to bring the community together out there. So what do you think the aspects are of the community in Baltimore actually coming together to start to buy back some of these neighborhoods that were destroyed from the drug era or incarceration and things of that nature? What are some of the ideas that you think might be possible for someone like me to come out there and start a grassroots organization and leave it so that it can flourish?
See, I can't even help you there. I'm lost there, and I'll be honest about that. I'm totally lost because I'm so isolated. I don't go out and deal with a lot of group things, so I wouldn't even be the one to be able to. I don't want to get that right.
That's understandable. You know what? That's wise. I think being that what you do, because it's probably the same thing that I do, is isolate myself from a lot of these situations. Is you keep yourself safe and you live a long life. But from my perspective, I'm starting to see a lot of damage being done to our community, a lot of relationships being twisted out because, people are not teaching other people how to properly be men and women towards each other, how to properly love a mate and how to have a mate properly love you. So it's a lot of miscommunication, miseducation going on in our community. But I do applaud and respect you for what you do. I respect the hustle and the grind. I respect the independence of it. And I would tell the people, you know, look you up, go research you, go into your writings, I guess your videos, but go into try to find the person. Don't just look at what you see as a fiction or an imagination, or, ooh, wow, this is a fantasy. You're a regular person. I see another person propose from you. You're a regular person, so
people don't get that. I try to tell them it's a fantasy. That's what porn is. Porn is a fantasy. All them girls, they don't walk around having sex all day and all stuff. Like, it's on camera. Like that. Yeah, they're at a party and they're wild and stuff, but that's the scene. You know, like, it's all fantasy. Like, they're still real people. Like, we have lives. Like, it's not. It's fantasy.
Yeah, definitely. As I said, I was reading your post and I see, you know, you go through the same things that I go through, or the other people might go through. So I just want them to understand that you're a regular person. So to reach out to you is the best way. Don't go at you funny. Just ask questions. Be up and honest and not rude or disrespectful, and be inquisitive the proper way. This is the reason me and you are on the phone right now having this interview, because I was inquisitive. I wanted to know about the adoption, the industry, the game, and being an entrepreneur in the game. And so I felt, you know, let me ask this young lady if she's willing to come on the show and speak with me and chop it up live on Mind Food Monday. And I'm glad you're here. I'm going to do like I do with most of these episodes. I'm going to place this on YouTube and put your information out there so people can find you, and put my information out there so people can come back to this episode. But before that's over, I want you to tell the people where they can find you right now. Give them your blogs, your email, not your email, but give them your blogs or your webpage, your Instagram, and things of that nature, so that they can go out and find you and see the posts that I'm talking about.
Okay, now y'all remember this, because it's real easy. Now, it's a lot of sapphires, but I'm the sexy one. So that's my website. It's Sapphire, the sexy one. I'm the sexy one. And I'm on Twitter at Sexy Sapphire and Instagram at More Hidden Jewel. But my website, it gives you everything. It's sapphirethesexyone.com. And you'll see my email and everything. Just go to the website. Remember, like, just because girl is fouled out on camera, she can be smart too, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I made it to the website with this interview that was coming up today. I'm glad I'm on there. I hope your people listening to it, they tuned in, they locked in, show respect. I hope they come back and listen to more episodes and more information, because it's not just about Black Power, Black Empowerment, though it is, but I still drop information so that everybody can understand what's going on around the world, not just my people. But my people need to wake up as well. All people do. So this is what I do here on Mind Food Monday. Everybody has an open forum. You even have the opportunity to ask me a question that might interest you yourself. So I give you that chance right now. Is there a question that you would like to ask V-Dub Boogie at the moment?
What color are your socks?
My socks? They white. Ankle socks. They low socks. They probably for a size smaller than mine. I think they like kid socks, but they fit right to my ankle and they're comfortable. So I'm rocking those right now. Just gotta let you know, let the people know, keep it 100. Try not to lie. Keep it straight honest for everybody.
Yeah, like,
everybody. You got any more projects coming up? Any articles getting ready to drop? Any appearances that you might be making or anything of that nature?
Well, yeah, I would like to tell people that right now, you know, there's a book on sale on Amazon. It's called Kitty Liquor by Daddy Rich, and I'm the cover model, and it would be so hot if you got one. And just send me a picture of it and let me know you got it, and maybe I'll send you something special back. You know, I love people who show support, because I show support back to them. And I have an article coming out in 86 Boulevard later this month, and a new story coming out also. And the new In Flavor magazine drops at the end of this month, and I'm in that too. I'm doing pretty good this year. Like, I'm ending the year with 23 published magazines and book cover, and I'm really happy. It's good.
Yeah, I applaud you for even putting in that work. I myself have got to submit a few articles to a few magazines and a few newspapers right now. I've been asked, so I'm going to do the justice, put in the work that the people need, make sure the information is out there. I actually have an article about
everything I want, gotta go make it. Surrounded by negative, fueled by hatred. World full of bullshit, why would you take it? Stuck in a cycle, somebody break it. Everything I want, gotta go make it. Surrounded by negative, fueled by hatred. World full of bullshit, why would you take it? Stuck in a cycle, somebody break it. I could be the bad guy, really, I wouldn't give a shit. Been called worse by better, bet out, get over it. When you talk, words fall on deaf ears. I show better than I tell, so the deaf ears. But guess where? In diamonds I don't got. Niggas won't even see me in a G-shot. Catch me at the store coming out of the weak spot. Too cock, heat hot, headed the T-block. Or when I'm AWOL, burning down a jiffy. On 157, rolling 20s is rolling with me. Usually I'm on point, time is just a little off. Red diamonds, alcohol, got me rolling off the wall. Everything I want, gotta go make it. Surrounded by negative, fueled by hatred. World full of bullshit, why would you take it? Stuck in the cycle, somebody break it. Everything I want, gotta go make it. Surrounded by negative, fueled by hatred. World full of bullshit, why would you take it? Stuck in the cycle, somebody break it. Yeah, it's Coney Island, niggas straight slumps. First you get the money, then the hate comes. It was all good, we had a great run. They say once you break a cookie, you make crumbs. To go to war with me, why would he bother? Homicide, see more blood than T. Rogers. And for the bloggers, the Twitter hasn't got the tweet. If I follow you, it's a rob you, I got to eat. I got the game on smash, nigga, lock your key. Ain't none of these lame bastards stopping me. They testing me, trying to get the best of me. I am the greatest of all recipes. Everything I want, gotta go make it. Surrounded by negative, fueled by hatred. World full of bullshit, why would you take it? Stuck in the table, somebody break it. Everything I want, gotta go make it. Surrounded by negative, fueled by hatred. World full of bullshit, why would you take it? Stuck in the table, somebody break it. It's all the same shit happening at different times. Same cops patrolling, driving different cars. Same niggas, same liquor, same bars. Different niggas dying on the same fucking blocks. Same stories, only thing you put a different name. Same rules in the streets, it's just a different game. Same hammer, but you always bust a different shell. Same Allen, but you always get a different cell. Same pussy, so how you bust a different cell? Same cycle, you will never get a different self. Took to myself, but I'm viewed by hate. Life's a bitch and certain people take her place. Fuck the world, but they say I shouldn't live that way. I'm a dickhead, I should be spitting in y'all face. Quick sidebar, shout to the boys back in Coxdown. They heard the chopper sound, so they heard the choppers round. Everything I want, gotta go make it. Surrounded by negative, fueled by hatred. World full of bullshit, why would you take it? Stuck in the cycle, somebody break it. Everything I want, gotta go make it. Surrounded by negative, fueled by hatred. World full of bullshit, why would you take it? Stuck in the cycle, somebody break it.
No doubt about it, everybody. You're tuned in live to the Beehive with V-Dub Boogie. Now, we're going to get into a discussion about a post that I made earlier. But before then, I want the calls to light up. I want more people to call in. I want more people to listen. I want more people to click. So if you're listening, hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. It's V-Dub Boogie is V-Dub Boogie on Twitter, and My Food Monday on Instagram. I did make the post. I reposted what I said. So if you still have something to say about it, now is your time to call in. Tell your friends to call in. Tell your friends' friends to call in. And we're going to get into this discussion. But before I get into the discussion, of course, this is the Beehive. We play music daily. We have interviews daily. Talk to the up-and-coming artists daily. But today is a little bit different. So we're going to take it in a little different way. Let the brother Umar Johnson speak.
Let's talk about the fact 64% of black children don't live with their fathers. There's 1 out of every 2 don't live with their fathers. Now, they might have at some point. They might later. But at some point in their life, they will not live with their fathers. That's a significant issue. But as a therapist, you have to withhold judgment until you know the reasons why. Because guess what? Some non-custodial parents are impossible to live with. Some sisters can't tolerate that father. Some fathers can't tolerate that sister. And if you put 2 people in a house who absolutely don't want to be there, domestic violence is likely to follow. And so now you got your children in a home, but it ain't a happy one. And your daughter is watching this back and forth friction. And your son is watching this back and forth friction, which does what? Sow the seed in their mind that it's okay to be disagreeable with your mate. Or maybe you arguing with their father, you arguing with their mother may have pissed them off so much that they decide to never get married at all. Or maybe daddy mistreated mommy so much that I'm not even going to spend my life with a man. I'd rather spend it with a woman. Oh, yes, I specialize in homosexual therapy for our teenage people. Okay? Yeah, you'd be surprised the stories I get for why they became that way.
Tweet out the link, share the number right now, 858-777-8457. We're going to get into this discussion about my post earlier, so make sure you get your friends on the line. Tell everybody to tune in tonight because it's about to go down. The call lines are lit up, and I want to hear from each and every last one of you what you have to say about what I said, and I'm not going to give you a rebuttal. I'm just going to let you speak your mind, and that's going to be that.
What you say to your son, y'all be on the street. Oh, you ain't going to be no good. You're going to be just like your father. I wish I never had you. You don't ever say that to a child. Because if you keep on telling him he's nothing, sooner or later he might just decide to make you a believer. That's right. When they give up on trying to prove to you that they can be somebody because you never believed they could. But psychologically speaking, what do we know? Many of us beat up on our children because we don't think much of ourselves. Did y'all hear that? There's a direct relationship between child abuse and low self-esteem of the parent. That is a replica of you. And because you don't like you, how the hell are you going to like your offspring? In America, mothers are more likely to prevent interaction between father and child for personal reasons rather than factors relevant to child development. This ain't just black women either. Ladies, the child came through you, but it don't belong to you. Not from an African frame of reference. Study your culture. If you want to go back to Egypt, at least study how the families were viewed, okay? The child comes through you, but it belongs to the community. You have to get rid of this consciousness that says, that's my child. I carried her. I carried him. They look just like me, not you. It don't matter if you spit them out. That's still their daddy. It takes 2 to make that child, not 1. And guess what? If you try to do it by yourself, you're going to make a mistake because God did not design humanity to be raised in a house of 1 parent. See, you need 50% feminine energy and you need 50% masculine energy. That's the balance. All of us are half male, half female, but 1 dominates or should. Okay? Stop laughing! So if your daughter don't get validated by her father, she'll spend the rest of her life looking for validation. Now you teach her how to be a lady, but he must validate her womanhood. Don't you ever forget that. If your son is always up under your skirt and never get that masculine structure, he might start wanting to wear one. And if the biological father's not around, uncle, grandpa, brother in the community, make sure you see their child abuse record. Make sure you go on Megan's Law, because we got pedophiles in our community. That's right. But the thing about pedophilia that's so sad, which is related to this, because when fathers are not there, the risk of all that go up. See, when a man knows that another man ain't having it with his, I don't care how pathological he is. He might have every label in this mother. But if he knows you ain't having it, he will fix himself. That's right. Oh, I'm usually sick, but not with this child. I'm healthy as a mother. The fact, black fathers are less to disclose the pain surrounding their actions from their children's lives, which can lead to misperceptions about their commitment. I deal with this all the time. The black man's hard exterior, we don't like to let people know we hurt. I can't see my children, but I can't let nobody else know that. So to the world, it looks like what? He don't care. So when Dr. Umar gets him in the office and we start talking, he got to muster all the spiritual energy in his body not to let that tear flow. Because it hurts us. And we got to talk about it. And fellas, we got to do what? We got to start developing some support groups for black men where we come together and talk.
Men not going to let anyone put their hands on them because they have a deep anger inside of them. So if he cut him, I'm quite sure he probably slapped the bullshit out of her. And I'm quite sure.
This is what I'm trying to explain to you, my sisters. We do not do that. The brother tried to walk away, and she did not want him to go. Was you there? I was not there.
Okay, and I respect that.
I had to hear his story, and we had to hear her story, which got her out of point because the charges were dropped because he did not want her to go in jail. You understand? So there's even more to this.
And that was
But I'm telling you, my brother did not put his hands on her. There's no reason for my brother to put his hands on her, and I'm gonna respect what he said to me and what she said to others that he did not put his hands on her.
And I respect the fact that he did not put his hands on her physically, but you got to remember, under the grounds of abuse, I'd rather for you slap the shit out of me than come at my soul and break my my womanhood down. And you got some men, their tongue is a weapon. So he may not put his hand on her, but he probably sliced her down. And a weaker woman, that was her defense. Because if you can't get out, she's going to come out swinging. So that was her defense. Okay. So my thing is this. You understand?
Let me interject. If that was her defense, by what you're saying and by your logic, I want you to understand this at the moment. That she stabbed my brother because he might have said something with the tongue that hurt her to the point she was emotionally disturbed and wanted him dead at that moment. Through her emotions, she wanted him dead at that moment, right? Now, I posted a story earlier that day about a man who got mad at his wife, and she was trying to leave, and he shot her. And the mother helped him kind of, move the body or whatever. So now both of them are in jail. I posted a little excerpt about that story, and I hope that people went to go watch that video. So by your logic, what you're saying is that he was warranted for what he did because he might have been emotionally disturbed and angry, and so angry and passionate that he was, he picked up a gun and shot his wife.
Right. I understand that because everybody is not intact with, you out of rage when you're doing stuff like that. But I'm going to speak on my experience, okay? My husband, I'm married to. You understand? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, I was in a situation like that, but only thing is, my husband was the victim in a cutting part. My husband put his hands upon me, right, and I would cover it. Nobody knew because you're not inside my circle. You're just looking in. Nobody knew. But one time he did it, whereas though I could not do nothing but reach out. My brother came out of defense. My brother ended up cutting my husband, dropping him into the hospital. Okay. Because he put his hands on me and I never told nobody, but this time it couldn't corrupt. See, a lot of stuff is hidden. And if you don't tell your story, nobody can't really relate to it because you got some people that need to tell the story so they can understand. Now, I'm not promoting violence. Hell no. If you feel that you can't go, go. But some people stay for the wrong reason because what's good to you ain't good for you all the time, And sometimes you got men in the house, but that's all you is, a man with a dick, excuse my French, but you got female tendencies, okay? So my thing is this, men need to stand up and get their role and treat the women like they're supposed to be treated because happy wife makes happy life. And if that female of your brothers is a potential fiance or a wifey to be, he might not have got stabbed if they wasn't cohabitating until they got married. Okay, he could have had his ass home, she could have her ass home, and then they could have stabbing through text, but not physically. Okay, so my thing is this: you gotta understand. Sometimes we put a horse before a carriage, and that's why we pay for it. But we first uphold lies, but we don't want to see the truth because it hurts. And when you tell the truth, you reveal. You know, so I'm quite sure the reason why your brother didn't want to press charges because he probably said, well, I'm maybe 60% of this responsibility too to push her that way. You know what I'm saying? And it's really hard to get into the middle of violence, like, you know, abuse and stuff with women, because you say something, he say something, they back together, and then you the victim. But women just do need to know is having a condition, it's like a disease, whereas though she probably was in an abusive relationship before then. So that's why you need to know where you're coming from, where you're going, and who you're dealing with. So was she in a relationship before him? They got her ass up, and she was in threat, and she said, no more, nobody never going to get in my area or my space. So he might have been a victim that got hit from somebody else's back abuse, and it's sad, but it happens like that. And yes, women starting to go with women, because of men, because most men, we just need them for one thing. But now you only need them for that. You're going to order that. So I'm not saying, I think it's just an open, you really sit back and look at situations, you know what I'm saying? Do I want to be like this?
Definitely, my sister. Caller from the 646. Your phone line is open. Caller from the 37. Your phone. Everybody's phone line is open. Whoever raised their hand, your phone line is open right now, so you can interject into this conversation.
Blessings to everyone. This is King Joppy. Big shout out to the Empress Nubia. Long time from way back. But just to chime in on the conversation, I think it's more or less not an issue of what a black woman is doing to the child or to whoever. It's not about race or gender, but really all you hear from is the victim side of the story and not really the oppressor and what the oppressor may be going through. And as individuals, people go through things throughout their lives, and it's upon that individual to overcome that and not be a victim.
My thing is, does it warrant death, brother? Because we talk about black on black crime. Domestic violence is black on black crime. In fact, domestic violence, my sister who mentioned that why females are going to females, domestic violence in the black community is worse the same sex couples than it is on regular couples. You know that, right?
So I wouldn't know that because my thing is this, I wouldn't know that because if I have no interest in the way certain people live, it's not my business. So I don't do research on shit that's not going to give me no, like, uplift or nothing like that, you know. I just believe in man for woman, woman for man. You know, that's how it's intended. And I no disrespect to nobody out here listening who got a female partner, a man partner. I'm not judging your soul or your shit. That's your choice, okay? But I'm just saying, in my circle and whoever I deal with, and when you speaking about women talking to women, you can't have what an ass and an ox got to do with each other. You can't have a dumbass telling the dumbass what to do. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of women don't have enough time to sit down. They always trying to cover up for you men. You know, oh, he don't do this. It's a pride thing, you know? And they need to like really get it down and expose the men.
Women cover up for themselves. You know, everybody has their own baggage. Everybody has their own skeletons in the closet. The thing with, whatever the relationship may be, is that people bring in their past relationships into present relationships, and that's what continues the ongoing cycle of this victimization. You know what I'm saying? When a person looks in the mirror and looks at themselves eye to eye, that's how they feel about themselves. Some people may cry. Some people may feel they're ugly. Some people may feel they're attractive. You know what I'm saying? It's all based on that individual and bringing your mind to where when you go out, you spread the energy. Instead of receiving the energy. I'm sorry, my phone's up. If you spread the energy instead of...
Your phone, brother, it's cool. You ain't crack your screen or nothing, right? You straight?
No, it's just the phone.
You know what was lost? You know what was lost? I don't know. You know what was lost in all the responses that I read from the females that nobody really picked up on? I got to understand that I deal with black women, work with black women, work for black women, live, my daughter is a black woman, my mother, my grandma, these are black women. These are my experiences and who I deal with. So if I'm going to speak, I can't really talk about white women, Chinese women, Indian women, Hindu women, German. I can't speak on them. And y'all kind of got to understand my point of view. So you want me to generalize all women? I mean, I can do that. I can
you
white
don't
women
want to
as
generalize
well.
Nobody. You should be specifically speaking of who you're talking to. See, the problem with that for me is that you don't know any other race of women. So how dare you say I should tell him to maybe date outside his race as to say
I have
black women.
dated other races of women, though.
Well, brother, let me tell you this. I'm considered mixed, okay? You hear me? So it don't matter what color, what color we are. Women, action's action. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to give the guys props. You do have some stand-up good men out here, okay? You do. You do have some men that do the things that they need to do as a father, a lover, supporter, all that you do. But you also have a lot of black men out here keep on blaming their back past on their future. It's for you to change that circle. You know what I'm saying? So what? Oh, I can't do this because they're trying to hold a black guy down, all that stuff. That's bullshit, okay? Same way you hustling to get that second female, go get that second job. You know what I'm saying? That's the whole get up. You black men got too much goddamn time tweeting and texting that he's doing your manly job. And then a woman, she might have cut his ass because he had 16 hours overtime and then she had to come home and cook and clean for him. He was talking shit. But if she was home being mommy and nursing and stuff like she could, then maybe she was like, I'm not standing, and God bless your baby and your brother, whoever, But what I'm saying is, it's a story behind everybody's story, and it's a shame. It's sad. It's real sad out here when you see, especially a lot of black women who's not supporting. Black women got too much weight on them. Put up just like that. They got too much weight on them. You men want us to be women.
He's only 22. He's only 22, and I believe she's probably like a year younger.
Because I grew up in a household of nothing but women. My sister and my 4 aunts raised me. You know what I'm saying? And women can be hard on young, children growing up, young black children, young black males growing up. They either get chastised or you're gonna be like your daddy or something. They get talked down to. The same way the females complain about, they're in a relationship that's abusive, either verbally or physically. Everybody's going to deal with it at some point in time. You're going to have problems at your job. You're going to have problems walking down the street. It's life. Right. It's the world.
What you were just saying, I definitely think that there is a role reversal that has taken place. And the women are carrying a lot of the weight, and it just happens to be how it was designed for us to be like that.
Society dictates it like that because
that's very true.
Never go out there and get knocked up and have a baby and get a check instead of being in the house with a man.
No. I can't agree with that though. That's not something that I agree with because I'm speaking from a stance. I'm speaking of a stance. Listen, I'm speaking of a stance from me as the Empress, and that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fact that me as a black woman, I do everything, and there has not been a black man to step up to the plate and tell me I can do everything that you do.
Do it to begin with, but the second one was our own feces. It could be through oral sex or through some kind of sexual means, but no way should we be ingested. Because once feces get inside of your blood, you are now dirty. You are now contaminated. I'm speaking of in Revelations too, by the way, not that I claim any religions, but it's just that this is a true statement in Revelations. We're dealing with a planetary square off between 2 planets called Uranus and Pluto. And Uranus and Pluto is all about, Uranus is about bringing the major change. And this is 7 squares, just like in Revelation speak of 7 seals, where these seals are being revealed. And when it gets down to the 4th seal in the 4th square between these 2 planets, which is actually happening right now, and it started in 2012, which is called the shift. And we have 3 years to shift the world to look at global warnings and deal with it and clean it up. So if we do not do this, I believe the human race will go extinct in less than 1,000 years.
So definitely, since you know what, I can talk to you about Bible references, and I know that people wonder why sometimes me and Hebrew Israelites get into it, and that's only because I have a strong understanding they're trying to tell us, which is what goes up must come down. What happened before will happen again. So what you're saying is in Bible references. Some of these things that are written down in the Bible are actually true. When we go through some of the laws of Leviticus and how to protect ourselves from diseases and how to prepare our foods, these are actually health conscious laws to stand by. As a people can survive longer, eat healthier, and not diseases that are known if we actually, now we know them today because of scientific studies, but then some people say that our people or these people back then didn't have the technology to understand these things, yet their dietary law actually was more proper and better than ours. And this is according to the Bible. This is why I tell people, do not negate the Bible as a textbook for living culture and actually fostering a new culture. If you can utilize the techniques.
It's illegal to show they are unlawful. Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Most people don't know there's a difference. Yeah. Stories.
Yeah, we do. Okay, wow. We have a few other stories. Thanks for chiming in again. I have a story in particular that I found very, wait, I think it's your turn, Dr. Yaffa. I'm going to go ahead and let you go, then I'm going to go after you.
Okay, well, I got like 3 more, so, I can wait or whatever. Have you heard about this stupid dimwit, Letitia Hillard? Have you heard about Letitia Hillard? She ain't even one of the niggas. This is a nigger, okay? This dumb broad sold her little baby, 4-month-old. Now, they don't say if it's a baby boy or if it's a baby girl, to some so-called white dude that she met on some goddamn dating service. And his last name is Bour, B-O-U-R, Christopher Bour. Let that fool buy her child on 8 different occasions and rape her baby with her in the damn room, video camera recording a lot of this stuff. And one incident, he wanted her out of the room, and this fool actually let this man buy and rape her 4-month-old child, talk about she needed the money. Bitch, are you serious? Excuse my language. I'm done. I am so, real talk, just because somebody looks like me, don't make them me. I keep telling my people, because people are complaining about things like, niggas ain't telling everybody things in the morgue, they're keeping information. And, people know how to do stuff and they ain't telling nobody. Well, a lot of stuff shouldn't be told because everybody ain't worthy of hearing it.
Okay.
Oh, this is real sad. Now, she is getting a mandatory 30-year to life sentence. And dude is still out, waiting to go to trial. I'm like, wow. Doing too much. Doing too much.
We had a lot of those that I wouldn't even consider to be my sister either. Wouldn't consider to be of us. I mean, how you do and allow certain things to your child, to anybody, but to your baby. I have a story that kind of go along with that one. It's really tragic, but it's about the parents. It says prosecutor seeks death penalty against parents of Imani Moss. This was a 10-year-old girl who was found burned and starved to death in Gwinnett County, Georgia. District Attorney Danny Porter told Channel 2 that Tony Thomas, he is asking that the father and stepmother of Imani Moss both be sentenced to death for the murder of Imani. Imani was found dead in a trash canister outside of Gwinnett County apartment in November. She was burnt and emaciated, the police said. The facts of the case constitutes torture of the victim and therefore deserves the death penalty, Porter told
Atlanta. And I have to agree. I mean, how can y'all do this?
You know, niggers niggers.
Yeah.
These are not niggas. There's a difference between a nigga, one of my niggas, and niggers. I don't know what these people are. Girl, it turns out that this baby is a girl. This man has been raping this baby and paying this mother from September of 2011 to February of 2013. You have been letting this dude rape your 4-year-old daughter for money with you in the room. Are you out of your mind? What is wrong? There is something really wrong here. There's something really wrong here. One of them, and the only reason it came out is because one of his friends
I was going to
some shit and reported it. God, I can't take it. I can't take it. Niggas have gotten, not niggas, melanin-rich people have become so thoroughly infected by the foul, ass behavior of foreign people with foreign practices. And we're starting to think that certain behaviors are okay and acceptable that are not okay or acceptable. Not for my damn people. But then again, these aren't my people. Yeah, they look like me.
Right.
They're not my people. Right. I don't know who they are or what they are. So, you know, and the same with this story you're talking about. This is a problem. When did our children become not only not safe to be around our own people, but more importantly, unsafe around melanin-rich women, around your own melanin-rich mother? See, remember when they always talk about the so-called strong black woman? Not that she was so strong or whatever the case, but what they meant by that was, unlike these other people's women, okay, you other people's women are so thoroughly oppressed and subjugated by their men, okay, that they are just outright, I can't talk to you, my husband's not home. I can't talk to you, my husband. You can be trying to sell the bra some lipstick from Avon. I can't buy anything, my husband's not here.
The music. I clearly have forgotten what year it was that the OJ trial was presented, but I do not forget, nor do I, will ever lose the expression on the faces of my teachers at that time when the verdict was presented. Basically, the school was shut down, and all TVs were tuned in to the verdict. I didn't go to the same school as the rest of my peers did. You know, I had a different opportunity in junior high school to be in a different environment and embrace different cultures, which was a beautiful blessing. But at this time, that verdict was real powerful to the teachers. It made an impact on them at the time. So if we don't consider that time that many years ago and consider this time and the melting pot or the crock pot actually that has been sitting down, boiling up, creating pressure for so long, and we probably won't understand the Trayvon Martin case situation or the reaction to it. And I believe some people understand it, and I believe some people don't. Some people want to understand it. Some people just can't fathom why the reaction is the way it is. And when you look back at Sean Bell, Amadou Diallo, and other situations where it's just, at some point in time, we have to either let go of the perspective or acknowledge that that is the perspective of most of society, that black men are a threat. Black men are to be feared in this society. But I say also that black men are to be copied, be emulated in this society. And so it's a confusing situation, and it's hard for a lot of people to conceptualize. A lot of us have let it go and just tried to manifest our own destiny, create our own way, and just ignore bad or the current situation. A lot of us have taken to it with fervor, passion, and vigor to change the dynamics which we face right now. But over the weekend, the President Barack Obama, interjected his own perspective into the Trayvon Martin verdict. And I actually have that speech to play, and I'm going to play it because it's very relevant to most Black men and their situations in America today. So, listen with your mind and try to conceptualize exactly what the president is saying, because right now he's talking as a regular person through experience, not as the President of the United States of America.
I want to come out here, first of all, to tell you that Jay is prepared for all your questions and is very much looking forward to the session. Second thing is, I want to let you know that over the next couple of weeks, there are going to obviously be a whole range of issues, immigration, economics, et cetera. We'll try to arrange a fuller press conference to address your questions. The reason I actually wanted to come out today is not to take questions, but to speak to an issue that obviously has gotten a lot of attention over the course of the last week, the issue of the Trayvon Martin ruling. I gave a preliminary statement right after the ruling on Sunday, but watching the debate over the course of the last week, I thought it might be useful for me to expand on my thoughts a little bit. First of all, I want to make sure that once again, I send my thoughts and prayers as well as Michelle's to the family of Trayvon Martin and to remark on the incredible grace and dignity with which they've dealt with the entire situation. I can only imagine what they're going through, and it's remarkable how they've handled it. The second thing I want to say is to reiterate what I said on Sunday, which is there are going to be a lot of arguments about the legal issues in the case. I'll let all the legal analysts and talking heads address those issues. The judge conducted the trial in a professional manner. The prosecution and the defense made their arguments. The juries were properly instructed that in a case such as this, reasonable doubt was relevant, and they rendered a verdict. And once the jury's spoken, that's how our system works. But I did want to just talk a little bit about context and how people have responded to it and how people are feeling. When Trayvon Martin was first shot, I said that this could have been my son. Another way of saying that is Trayvon Martin could have been me 35 years ago. And when you think about why, in the African-American community at least, there's a lot of pain around what happened here, I think it's important to recognize that the African-American community is looking at this issue through a set of experiences and a history that it doesn't go away. There are very few African-American men in this country who haven't had the experience of being followed when they were shopping in a department store. That includes me. There are very few African-American men who haven't had the experience of walking across the street and hearing the locks click on the doors of cars. That happens to me, at least before I was a senator. There are very few African Americans who haven't had the experience of getting on an elevator and a woman clutching her purse nervously and holding her breath until she had a chance to get off. That happens often. And I don't want to exaggerate this, but those sets of experiences inform how the African American community interprets what happened one night in Florida. And it's inescapable for people to bring those experiences to bear. The African American community is also knowledgeable that there is a history of racial disparities in the application of our criminal laws. Everything from the death penalty to enforcement of our drug laws. And that ends up having an impact in terms of how people interpret the case. This isn't to say that the African American community is naive about the fact that African American young men are disproportionately involved in the criminal justice system, that they're disproportionately both victims and perpetrators of violence. It's not to make excuses for that fact, although black folks do interpret the reasons for that in a historical context. They understand that some of the violence that takes place in poor black neighborhoods around the country is born out of a very violent past in this country. And that the poverty and dysfunction that we see in those communities can be traced to a very difficult history. And so the fact that sometimes that's unacknowledged adds to the frustration. And the fact that a lot of African American boys are painted with a broad brush, and the excuse is given, well, there are these statistics out there that show that African American boys are more violent. Using that as an excuse to then see sons treated differently causes pain. I think the African American community is also not naive in understanding that statistically, somebody like Trayvon Martin was probably statistically more likely to be shot by a peer than he was by somebody else. So folks understand the challenges that exist for African American boys. But they get frustrated, I think, if they feel that there's no context for it, and that context is being denied. And that all contributes, I think, to a sense that if a white male teen was involved in the same kind of scenario, that from top to bottom, both the outcome and the aftermath might have been different. Now, the question for me, at least, and I think for a lot of folks, is where do we take this? How do we learn some lessons from this and move in a positive direction? I think it's understandable that there have been demonstrations and vigils and protests, and some of that stuff is just going to have to work its way through as long as it remains nonviolent. If I see any violence, then I will remind folks that that dishonors what happened to Trayvon Martin and his family. But beyond protests or vigils, the question is, are there some concrete things that we might be able to do? I know that Eric Holder is reviewing what happened down there, but I think it's important for people to have some clear expectations here. Traditionally, these are issues of state and local government. The criminal code and law enforcement is traditionally done at the state and local levels, not at the federal levels. That doesn't mean, though, that as a nation, we can't do some things that I think would be productive. So let me just give a couple of specifics that I'm still bouncing around with my staff. So we're not rolling out some 5-point plan, but some areas where I think all of us could potentially focus. Number one, precisely because law enforcement is often determined at the state and local level. I think it'd be productive for the Justice Department, governors, mayors, to work with law enforcement about training at the state and local levels in order to reduce the kind of mistrust in the system that sometimes currently exists. When I was in Illinois, I passed racial profiling legislation, and it actually did just two simple things. One, it collected data on traffic stops and the race of the person who was stopped. But the other thing was it resourced us training police departments across the state on how to think about potential racial bias and ways to further professionalize what they were doing. And initially, the police departments across the state were resistant, but actually they came to recognize that if it was done in a fair, straightforward way, that it would allow them to do their jobs better, and communities would have more confidence in them, and in turn be more helpful in applying the law. And obviously law enforcement's got a very tough job. So that's one area where I think there are a lot of resources and best practices that could be brought to bear if state and local governments are receptive. And I think a lot of them would be. And let's figure out, are there ways for us to push out that kind of training? Along the same lines, I think it'd be useful for us to examine some state and local laws to see if they are designed in such a way that they may encourage the kinds of altercations and confrontations and tragedies that we saw in the Florida case, rather than diffuse potential altercations. I know that there's been commentary about the fact that the stand your ground laws in Florida were not used as a defense in the case. On the other hand, if we're sending a message as a society in our communities that someone who is armed potentially has the right to use those firearms, even if there's a way for them to exit from a situation, is that really going to be contributing to the kind of peace and security and order that we'd like to see? And for those who resist that idea that we should think about something like these stand your ground laws, I just ask people to consider, if Trayvon Martin was of age and armed, could he have stood his ground on that sidewalk? And do we actually think that he would have been justified in shooting Mr. Zimmerman, who had followed him in a car, because he felt threatened? And if the answer to that question is at least ambiguous, then it seems to me that we might want to examine those kinds of laws. Number 3, and this is a long-term project.
Blog Talk Radio.
Spend some time thinking about how do we bolster and reinforce our African American voice. And this is something that Michelle and I talk a lot about. There are a lot of kids out there who need help, who are getting a lot of negative reinforcement. And is there more that we can do to give them a sense that their country cares about them and values them and is willing to invest in them?